What's going on, man?
The boys are back.
The boys are back. We traveled the world and the seven seas, and now we're still looking for a Terry McLaurin contract. Boys are home, managed to make it all the way to London and Milan, Sicily, or Sonia, and still, boys are right back where we left them pretty much. But fired
Yeah,
up to be back,
same
excited to be
headline.
back. Yeah, same headlines, guys. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. I mean, I'll say it right now. If it weren't for the time zone discrepancy with the NFL, you're looking at one of the only things keeping me here right now after that trip. This is
It
pretty
was
much the only thing
phenomenal.
I've been looking forward to.
It was
Oh, man.
phenomenal. Yeah, we got to go to Europe. We started with a bang, watching the Oasis at Wembley Stadium, which was absolutely incredible. And it just kind of built from there. Got to visit family and in our native land in Italy, and it was just incredible. But we have like 35 people at a family reunion on the last night, so just incredible. Italy's beautiful. London's great. It was
Yep.
uh, it was a blast.
Yeah, 35 people at the family reunion. I'm probably still missing another 30 in total. Um, It was just an awesome time. Unreal, great experience. And now we're back, and we're back, and we're talking back and talking
Excited
football.
to be
So
talking some football. Yeah, for sure. We
gotta be.
get to see JD lace him up apparently for the first time Monday night. So that's always exciting.
Yep, we'll get into that. We'll get into all those details. But just real quick, before we do, we got some big giveaway news. So just like last year, we are giving away a Commanders Jaden Daniels jersey to one subscriber if we hit our goal of 2,000 subscribers by week one. Now, we've got to hit that goal. So we're a ways away right
Long
now,
way to
but I
go.
think we can do it. I think we can do it. So to be eligible, simply subscribe, send us an email with your name, address, and jersey size to Diamond Pop Giveaway one at gmail.com. And once we hit 2,000 subscribers, we'll have another drawing to pick a winner. So we got to get there by week one. If not by week one, then we might have to be some renegotiations. Maybe it's just a hat, or maybe it's not a. I don't know if we can give away a full Daniels jersey if we don't get there.
We got
But
to get to
guys,
2,000 subs. I'd consider extending it. We're
we
not
could
doing it till we
consider
get 2,000. And the thing is, think about this. You're not really competing against 2,000 people. Last year, I don't know what we had, like 20
40,
entries,
50
30
entries, something
entries,
like
right?
that. Yeah.
500 was our goal. So it's really just the people that enter. So tell your friends. Uh, if you got kids, register them on YouTube, make them subscribers. We'll take it any way we can get it. But let's get to 2,000 and don't forget to enter. It's free. Doesn't cost you anything, and your odds are pretty good getting that JD jersey.
100%. So,
Yeah.
getting into it now, talking training camp news and notes. We got a couple weeks of stuff to recap on. We're going to try not to do too much looking back because you guys are Commanders junkies like we are. You've been keeping up with the news. We're going to try and kind of jump in on today's hottest topics. And
Yep.
the first one is preseason. You guys are watching it today. Tonight is game two of the preseason. Now, if it was regular season, we would have altered our pod schedule a little bit, but it's preseason. Andrew Wiley's playing left tackle. We don't need to get too fancy about this when we figured you guys missed us. We'll come to you as soon as we could. So, preseason game two, Bengals, Monday Night Football. We've got some starters playing. How you feeling about that preseason game, Pop?
It's good. I mean, a lot of starters are sitting out. Offensive line, especially. You got a lot of guys missing on the line. We're going to
Yeah,
get
like
into
three
that
of the five or something.
in a minute here. They're a little banged up. Guys like Ertz and Wagner are sitting out as well. So you got some guys, but we'll get to see a lot of the key players, right? You will see that our secondary going up against one of the best wide receiver crews and quarterbacks in the league for a couple series at least. See how our D line shakes out. Of course, you get to see Jaden Daniels and Debo Samuel combo for the first time. That's got to be an exciting thing. So, uh, It'll be interesting. I mean, preseason is preseason. I tried to watch a couple of games over this weekend, and it's hard to really get locked in. I'm sure I'll be a bit more locked in to the boys. It'd be interesting to see what Bill can do at running
Yeah.
back. You know, so there's a lot of cool things to look into there, and it's all about the younger guys doing what they can do. They were pretty embarrassed. We didn't even get a chance to see the first preseason game. I think we were in London, or maybe we were in Italy at the time. I can't remember now, but sounds like it was a pretty embarrassing outing, even though we sat like 30 of our best players. So you got to believe Dan Quinn wants them to bounce back and look a lot better. And it looks like the Bengals are more focused on playing their guys this time around and get ready and try to avoid that slow start.
Yep. So getting into that, I think that transitions us nicely. What are our current vibes and a level of optimism maybe surrounding the team? ESPN has our ceiling at 12 wins, floor at 7. I think I mean, 7 wins, you'd have to be talking about a serious injury to a major contributor if you're dealing with
I
that.
wouldn't even say it.
Yeah, I can't. I don't see how that's possible. Vegas over unders at 9.5 wins, so a bit more optimistic from Vegas there. Our offense is going to be facing better defenses. Maybe we've improved our defense a little bit. I think our offense has improved quite a bit as well. So where are the vibes at? How does maybe the McLaurin situation play into it? What we've seen in training camp so far? How are you feeling about the team, Pop?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm a little less optimistic than I was. Maybe a few weeks back. I'd say pre-training camp. We gave our season predictions. You have them winning the Super Bowl, and our playoff predictions. I don't know. It's just maybe it's the Terry vibes. Maybe it's seeing where some of the holes are with this team. There's still some areas of concern. I'm a little less optimistic. I really thought we'd come out of the gates running and have a fast start. But I think when you've got such a key contributor that's been sitting out that hasn't been practicing with the team, although there's breaking news on that we're going to get into and our topic number two here. I would say I'm just a little bit more nervous about what's going to look like. I don't. I still think that we're looking at. I'd still go over on that 9.5 wins. I'd say I'd expect 10 to be the minimum that we'll see out of this group. But I could see it. I got a vibe that it might be a bit more of a struggle in year two than I was maybe feeling like a couple of weeks back. What about you?
Yeah, I think I don't know. Yeah, we both had the team like shooting out to a strong, 6-0, 7-0 start. Yeah, I think I'm not quite feeling that right now, and I agree with you. I think it's kind of the vibes around the Terry situation, and then some other things too. Like just in general, you see the offense is kind of um, not itself during the
Yeah,
preseason, and I think there's a few reasons for that. Namely, I think Jaden is obviously intentionally very much limiting what he's doing in practice with his legs, which wasn't
of course.
necessarily the case last year. Last year, you got a guy that's competing for a starting job. They don't really know exactly what he's capable of this year. There's more of the sense of like this is a known commodity at quarterback right now, and the priority is more around protecting him, even in practice, than it is around kind of installing and moving forward. And on top of that, like you said, they haven't been doing a lot of install yet. They're not installing for games. So it's more just kind of getting reps for guys that are deeper down the depth chart in terms of like this wide receiver depth chart. We'll get into that in our next question. Figuring out that running back competition, moving around who's where on the offensive line. And I think some of that is when you talk about kind of the average age of this squad and having an older team and having players who are really talented, like Zach Ertz, like Laramie Tunsil, be on the older side on that offense. These are guys that we expect to be major key contributors to the team. Um, Not practicing every practice, taking veteran rest days, being in and out. These are guys that you know what they're gonna give you once the season starts. But this time of the year for them is just as much about conserving that energy and staying fresh as it is kind of getting in shape for the younger guys. So I think that's most of it. And I think some of it too, I think this defense is a lot better than we're giving it credit for right now. I think a lot of guys are starting to step up. I think you have a stud in Trey Amos on the outside. I think Marshawn Lattimore is kind of returning to experiencing some positive regression, kind of returning a little closer to what we expected from him. Obviously, Mikey Samerstill has been the star of camp on the defensive side of the football. And then guys like Javon Kinlaw, you're starting to see a lot of really positive buzz around him. So, I mean, these are things that we'll get into as we go more specifics down this list, but I think that's also some of what's contributing to the negativity. And then more than anything, they are playing this inside of the building really conservatively because they feel incredibly optimistic inside of the building and very confident in what's going on and in what they have. So it seems like training camp and preseason in general are kind of at a little slower pace right now because the focus is less on there. I feel like the sense is almost we can be 80% in September and still win a lot of football games. And we want to be good in October, November, December. Like we want to set ourselves up so that we're peaking at the right time because we feel like even if we're not necessarily peaking at the beginning of the season, we can still be positioning ourselves to be contending later on in the year.
Yeah, I would
I
say
don't know.
the
A lot of
comment
thoughts.
the comment I would add to that is I think some of the offensive struggles, certainly not having Terry out there hurts, but also I think Jaden Daniels such is so smart in his preparation. And what they
Yeah.
do in camp is you're right, he's not really using his legs. And he's trying some things, right? He's trying to fit balls in tighter windows than maybe he might otherwise. He's giving his receivers a chance. He's doing some things that, he's not, there's no sense practicing the layups as much that you're going to
Yeah.
get in a game where you can just get Debo in space with an easy toss or an Austin Eckler in space or maybe even a Jalen Lane, depending on how he develops. So he's so smart in his preparation. He's not worried about how he might look on a day in camp or winning that scrimmage as much as preparing for the season. So I think that's a smart observation by you.
100%. I mean, you're seeing balls hit guys like Chris Moore in the face mask and then go up in the air that would be touchdown passes if he's hitting a Noah Brown or a Terry McLaurin. But that kind of brings us to our second question, which is do we have a crisis at wide receiver? So Noah Brown and Terry have not been practicing for different reasons. Noah Brown just can't stay healthy is the reason why he didn't make the team in Houston last year. He's a key contributor to this team and was last year down the stretch, but he's not been practicing. And then Terry obviously resolving this contract situation. Now, certain NFL insiders have said this deal is all but done and is going to be getting done, but these are not necessarily major national names. These are kind of like super insiders. So it's interesting to see where that's at. He was most recently activated off the pup list right after Cliff Kingsbury in his presser kind of sounded the alarm. He said, "Okay, it's time to get, it's time to get some of these guys back because we can't really continue to progress and evaluate without playing football. We have to play football." So the day
It's
after that, Terry McLaurin's taken off the pup list, which means basically he's going to start getting fined again if he doesn't practice. So where are we at?
Yeah, one of the things, I mean, to me, it's a five-alarm fire. The wide
Yeah,
receiver situation is an absolute five-alarm fire. Call me an alarmist if you want. The way it stands right now, not having Noah Brown getting any reps, not having Terry out there, having Debo be your wide receiver one. We're seeing him on deep routes in practice, which isn't really what you think of Debo Samuel, although it would be great if he can do that. I think it's a five-alarm fire. I did read one thing getting back to the contract situation is that they said the sequence of events that were going to occur is that we give them our best and final offer and we take them off the pup list because it's sort of like, look, this is the best we're going to be able to do for you, and you're not really injured. You need to get out there and start practicing regardless because you're still under contract. So the signs are pointing towards a resolution. Maybe that'll already have happened by the time you're listening to this. We hope so. we can all celebrate a little bit when that happens. But they've got to get Terry back out there practicing. I mean, I posted something. Usually, Dominic runs our Twitter account. Full disclosure, but every now and then I'll sneak one in, and I
Pop's got to
posted.
get something off his chest every
I,
once in a
sp- I
while.
spoke. I posted uh, something on there where I basically said, I see both sides of this. I totally understand Terry's wanting to hold out, try to gain leverage because the leverage he has is the fact that this is a this is a this wide receiver group without Terry in it is a problem, right? That's the leverage he has. So I don't hold anything against Terry holding this out, playing this out a bit, trying to get everything that he can out of it. And I also understand AP trying to, do what's best for the team, make sure that we win the negotiation as a Commanders football team too, right? So I see both sides of it. There's no reason to be Team Terry or Team AP. It's most likely going to end up in a great group hug. But, you look at this receiver core, and I know you laughed at me the last time we say this, but key contributors from last year, Noah Brown's not on the field. Terry McLaurin's not on the field. Zacchaeus is gone. Jamison Crowder is gone. You look at the guys in order of how they were contributing last year. Our top four receiver contributors are not there, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if I missed anybody, but that hurts. Now, yeah, you hope guys like Jalen Lane are going to step up. You hope um, McCaffrey in year two, although we haven't really seen great signs of that yet, is going to do something. Certainly, you add Debo Samuel, you got to be excited about that. But it's reaching crisis mode, and hopefully, like I said, it's all resolved very soon.
Yeah, I think it's going to get solved. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be 28 to 30 mil AAV, probably a few years, 2, 3 years. It's going to get handled. I still feel confident about that, but what I don't feel as confident about now is the impact that it's had
Yes,
across across the board. Like you just can't get away from the fact that this is not good for the team. So disappointed in that. How will it translate to on the field? We don't know. There's no way to know. You've seen guys like CD Lamb still have pretty good seasons after, and then you've seen guys like Brandon Ayuk get hurt and get off to slow starts after these kinds of situations. So you don't really know where this is going. But
yeah,
I
it's
think
it's
the
it's not ideal, right? That he's
yeah
not there, and there's nothing like practice reps. He's sitting out the preseason. I guess is not as big a deal for someone like Terry McLaurin, but
no.
not getting, he's got a chance now to get almost 3 weeks of practice reps. That's right. We're less than 3 weeks away from kickoff week one, which is super exciting. But yeah, enough said on that. I mean, it's got to get done. It's got to get done soon. I think him coming off pup, we don't know the besides the scene behind the scenes there. He still wasn't really visible at the first practice after that announcement. So don't love that. But it's got to get resolved sooner than later. And I don't know
Amen.
what's going on with Noah Brown, right? That's a mystery.
Yeah, Noah Brown's a guy that the plan is for Noah Brown to be phased out by the end of the year. I don't know if he's going to phase himself out because of injury, or if he's going to actually be phased out the way that we wanted, which is Jalen Lane and or Luke McCaffrey stepping up enough to start to take his target share away from him. I still think we have a diamond in the rough with Jalen Lane that's there playing very close to the vest. It reminds me of another guy that we've been talking about, and how he came out his rookie year. I think very similar situation with Jalen Lane. If you read between the lines, if you read the tea leaves, so that makes me feel a little bit better. I still think Debo. I think you're going to get a hooper in Debo Samuel. I think even if we're in a situation where he needs to take on some more targets, I think that's good. Obviously, I think more touches for Debo and less touches for Noah Brown is probably positively impacting the offense.
For sure.
So I don't sweat as much about Noah Brown. Noah Brown's more of a depth thing, because then you start looking at guys like Chris Moore getting real impactful touches in games, and we do want to avoid that. Um, Moving forward, Number three question on our five questions about this Commanders team segment here. Should Jaden Daniels play in the preseason with three projected starting offensive linemen out? So Tunzel, Coleman, and Cosme all are out. Should Jaden Daniels be playing tonight?
This is one of those that at first I was kind of like, hell no. And then, thinking about a little bit more on the O line depth that we do have, I think we can put five competent guys out there. And I think they showed last season that they know what they need to do to protect him. I don't think you're going to see a whole lot in terms of where he's taking a whole lot of risks out there. The ball's going to come out of his hand quick. Maybe we'll see them try to establish that run game a little bit. I don't love it, but I'm sure they'll do everything they can to protect Jaden in this. But it does bother me a bit that you almost wonder if it's worth it personally.
Yeah, I mean,
How
look,
much is he really going to get out of it?
last year you were putting him behind, Cornelius Lucas, Trent Scott, Nick Allegretti during regular season games.
Yeah,
So in the preseason, probably get a few sequences in. Obviously, he's going to get something out of it because that's why they're putting him in there. They wouldn't be risking. I mean, let's look. Let's call it what it is. Jaden Daniels is now tied to Dan Quinn's career, Cliff Kingsbury's career, Joe Witt Jr.'s career, Adam Peters' career. They wouldn't be putting the single most important piece in their careers out there if it weren't that it was a net positive to have him
but
out
no
there,
Terry,
including the risk.
no Ertz, who's by all accounts his favorite target. Three of your starting offensive linemen out. It's
Yeah.
at least worth a question as to whether it makes sense. If it's me making the decisions, I don't play. I don't play Jaden.
Um, I'm cool with playing Jaden because I think you say, hey, we haven't seen what we needed to see out of the offense in practice. Go do it in a game. And I think you don't want those first set of reps happening in the first game. I'm all for guys playing in the preseason. They've played in the preseason for decades. Lots of starting quarterbacks. Joe Burrow, if the Bengals are going to play Joe Burrow, why shouldn't we play Jaden Daniels? In my opinion. Now, if we start seeing Cliff call these quarterback power in between the tackles
No, he's
runs,
not going to do
I
that.
got an issue there. But some
You
screen
don't want to see
passes,
slinging Sammy Hartman lead the starting offense.
Slinging Sammy Hartman's going to be leading Pantene commercials.
A practice
Um,
squad.
but be lucky to be doing that. But I think Daniels needs to play. I'm cool with him playing. I think we're making too much of the starting O lineman out because I think ultimately they're going to do what they need to do to make sure he's protected. He's going to be getting the ball out quick. I'm not concerned about this at all. Brings us to number four. How good can this defense be? Projected starters right now are at defensive end, Dietrich Wise Jr. and Dorrance Armstrong. You will probably also see Von Miller effectively operate as a defensive end. He's technically listed as a linebacker, but he's not going to be playing a lot of off ball stand up linebacker. He never has, but he's certainly not going to be doing it at this point in his career. Defensive tackle, you have Deron Payne, Javon Kinlaw, and Johnny Newton. That will be a beast of a three-headed monster, in my opinion. I also think Javon Kinlaw is as much a defensive end as a defensive tackle. That's been mentioned a couple times where various members of the media have kind of asked him, hey, what position are you playing? And he just said defensive line. He said, I'm going to be playing all
Yeah,
over. And there was a couple quotes. I think it was Biadish or Wiley said, reminded him of trying to block Chris Jones, trying to block Javon Kinlaw in practice. So the Kinlaw hype is slowly building. A couple of guys have said, I think Kerrigan told him, he said, if you can uh, hone your technique, you're going to be a Pro Bowler this year. So he's getting the right coaching. He's in the right system. Guys like Dan Quinn have turned guys like Javon Kinlaw into stud players. Look at what they did with that Cowboys defense while he was there. So I think I'm very excited about Javon Kinlaw. At linebacker, Bobby Wagner, Frankie Luvu. Von Miller's in the picture technically, but he's not going to be playing
yeah.
that. Those two guys you see in the middle of the field, that's not going to be Von Miller. You've also got our guy Jordan McGee,
In the
who
witness protection program.
we've been very vocal about our excitement about his potential, but keeping him on the field has been concerning. In that, obviously, Dominic Hampton gone now. They cut him. Kane Medrano has been starting to make a little bit of noise. You'll see him probably get some more meaningful snaps going forward. And at cornerback, Marshawn Lattimore, Trey Amos, Mike Samerstill. Safety, Quan Martin, Will Harris. Now, I would put a little star next to Will Harris because I think Jeremy Reeves is chomping at the bit for that starting strong safety position.
Well, I think you'll see. I think you're going to see both Reeves and Butler make contributions. Maybe in different packages there for sure. But yeah, I mean, how? What's your ceiling for this defense? Can this defense scratch as a top 10 type
Yeah,
defense?
I think it could. I think if that back seven plays out the way we think it can play out, where you've got two all pro linebackers, you've got guys with all pro talent at cornerback. Marshawn Lattimore's been an all pro before. Maybe he's a little past his prime, but still stud. And then Amos looking like he could be a serious contributor right away. And then Samerstill's obviously, I mean, he should have been in rookie of the year contention defensively last year and is just an animal. I think you could be scratching top 10 with the way the secondary is building if this defensive line could be a situation where the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
If you can get a defensive line that works as a unit and they can contain the run a little bit better. Pass rush wasn't an issue last year. They got sacks.
Well,
They were
I
able to,
mean, they're if you look at the talent on the line, they're set up to be much, much better than the run, right? The
yeah,
size of a Dietrich Wise, the size of a Javon Kinlaw, Dorrance Armstrong, I think, is probably known for being more of a run stopper than a pass rusher. So
yeah,
I think that they're set up to do better about that. And I think the thing to be excited about is that you got Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. Dan Quinn doesn't even need to think about the offense. The
yeah,
talent that they have in terms of the offensive coaching side, I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Joe Gibbs in reverse. Joe Gibbs never had to worry about the defense. He had great D coordinators, and he just didn't even think about what was going on that side of the ball. I don't think he has to spend any effort, and I think he's just in the lab with Joe Witt Jr. And even though they didn't make a big splash, you know, in the off season, I mean, Marshawn Lattimore was a pretty big splash. I think they went out and deliberately, intentionally added pieces that they felt fit their defense and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to improve on. So I don't know about top 10, but I think if this, there's a lot of talk of people catching up a bit to our offense. I still think it's going to be a dynamic offense. I still think it's going to be a top 5 offense, but maybe because we're going up against a lot of really good defenses this year, it regresses a little bit. But if this defense can make a big jump, we could be winning in different waves this year, right? Because, let's face it, the defense wasn't, for the most part, very good last year. So this might be the biggest key to this team taking a jump this season.
yeah. I think the defense, if you could get in a position where the defense can bail you out in a couple games, the defense can make a couple stops. I mean, how many times at the beginning of last year when we didn't really know what this team was going to be? Look at the Ravens game. Look at the Steelers game. I mean, I guess by the Steelers game we were 7-2, but look at that Eagles game on Thursday night. Several situations where even though the final scores may not be 100% indicative to it because teams got to keep the ball at the end of the game and score a garbage time touchdown or something like that. Several situations where you were just relying on a stop. You kept, how many times did we say at the beginning of the year, all we need is a stop and a score, stop and a score, stop and a score? And we know this team gets the score, but we didn't always get the stop. And if were able to get the stop more consistently last year, you could have been talking about 13, 14 wins and we made those stops. So
Who
if
knows?
we're
Maybe,
able to do that, it can at least hopefully even out that more difficult schedule, anticipated little bit of regression from year two. Like you can hopefully even that out with a better defense and still end up around that 12, 13 win range, I think.
yeah, maybe Kinlaw's this year's Frankie Louvu.
I like that. I like that. I certainly feel that way. That's the same. It's the same process. The way they identified Luvu last year is how they identified
Yep.
Kinlaw. Now it's not going to be 100%, but it's the same process. So who makes the team at running back?
This is a
That's question
juicy
number
one.
5. This
We
is the
could have spent
fun
the whole
topic of the
pod on
day.
this, but we'll have to be
Well,
quick.
we got to be careful because we might spend a whole pod on this here. Um, are Brian Robinson Jr. and Austin Eckler locks? I will tell you right now. My take on this is I think Austin Eckler is more likely to be on the roster week one than Brian Robinson Jr. Now, I think it's a 100% in Austin Eckler's case to a 90% in Brian
Yeah.
Robinson Jr.'s case. And I think it's because Brian Robinson Jr. might be a trade candidate.
The issue with Brian, and I think I'll say this: I still think Brian Robinson is the best running back, pure running back we have on the team until proven otherwise. The issue is you say to yourself, well, how much of just forget about Bill for a second, right? How much of a drop off is there between Brian Robinson Jr. and Chris Rodriguez? They do a lot of the same things, you know. So yeah, you could see a scenario where they get a little bold there and decide to, because Cliff Kingsbury, you'll get into this quote, but he seems to like the depth in that running back room. It's going to be hard to let
Yeah,
certain guys go. But I agree with you. I think it's probably likely in that 90% range that both of these guys are on the roster. I don't think Eckler is going anywhere because we don't have a guy that can do what Eckler does at running
yeah,
back. We just don't. So he's not
exactly.
going anywhere. You know,
And we forget before Eckler started having those concussion problems last year, Eckler was a weapon.
he
Eckler
was
was
a weapon in the
dynamic last year.
playoffs. He was a weapon in
Um,
the playoffs.
he was dynamic. I mean, first play of was it the preseason or it was against the Giants in week two. Austin Eckler houses the touchdown, and it got called back on a crap block in the back penalty. But remember, Eckler, I think he scored the was it the first touchdown or the second touchdown? And he had a key touchdown in the Bengals game early on. He was a key part of this team early in the season, and then he kind of missed the middle. And then, like Pop said, in the playoffs, he came back and was a stud again. So I think Eckler, you can't live without Eckler. Brian Robinson Jr., you start having a dialogue. If you could get a fifth round pick for B Rob,
Yeah, you never know. I mean, there might be some injuries happening around the league. It's an interesting one. It would not totally shock me because we haven't gotten into the rest of the guys here, but you got Chris Rodriguez who's looked good, McNichols who they love, who might be the other guy I would say is at risk at some point. Do you want to keep some of these other guys around and just finally decide that McNichols is a guy you're going to have to let go, maybe keep an eye on him, stash him on the practice squad, but they love him. They love him. And that Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, aka Bill, isn't going anywhere. He's going to make this team. So you do have a numbers crunch at the position, even though there isn't maybe, again, no one has emerged as like a superstar back out of this
yeah.
group, but some really good
Um,
depth there.
I mean, Ben Standing said he thinks Bill could be RB1 week one. And Ben doesn't know everything. He knows a couple more things than we do. He's obviously closer to the situation than we are. Um, maybe that's an a case of wishful thinking.
If he is, then B Rob is most likely gone.
Well, or you couldn't get anything meaningful for him.
Yeah.
I still think like I don't know. It's hard because you've got Eckler there. But B Rob does bring that kind of David Montgomery role, but you could have Chris Rodriguez Jr. do that. I don't know. I think if you could get a fourth or fifth round pick for B Rob, which I think would be an overpay, but if you could get that from somebody, I would
Yeah.
do it in a
But
heartbeat.
you have
This
to
is
because he's on the last year of his
the
contract.
picks. Yeah,
He's on the last year of his contract, and the likelihood of him being back next year with everything that we just talked about isn't very high. He'll be
and
playing somewhere in the league, but
sure,
not
sure.
sure it's here.
This is not this is not this administration's guy, and I say it over and over and over again. This guy was drafted to be a short yard back. He's not drafted to be a three down workhorse. He's only gotten the amount of work he's gotten in the league because of the horrible management of this team for the last 4 years. So,
Yeah,
um, whatever. That's where that's at. I think when you talk about guys like McNichols and Kaz Allen, these are guys I hope never get a meaningful snap during this season. Even Rodriguez Jr. You don't want to see. He's done well. We've begged for him to get more touches, but with the guys that we're talking about, if he's getting the ball, something's gone wrong. Um, so I'm excited about Bill, man. I'm
yeah.
excited about Bill.
Well,
We'll
maybe
see.
we get a good look at him tomorrow night.
I tell you what, the only team in the world that needs Bill more than the Commanders right now is uh, Dom Corleone 20's Dynasty Fantasy Football team because we are hurting at the running back position, and we did manage to acquire Bill. So we're gonna need that. We're gonna need that if we're gonna do what get back to the championship like we did last year. We're certainly gonna need some help from Bill. Um, let's go around the NFL. What do you say, Pop? Do a little
I'll tell
speed
you what,
round.
the boys come back juiced with energy, ready to roll after getting refreshed from a couple weeks off.
Definitely. I
We're
can't
ready
say
for
I've
the grind of the year. Won't be any
I
two
can't
weeks off coming.
juiced and with energy are not either of the words I would have used to describe where my head is at right now. But we're fired up to be talking ball. The ball's been contained in us. We've been in a brute, so not even thinking about what is football. I haven't even been thinking about it. No, we were biking the Adriatic Sea talking about if Terry's gonna get
Yeah,
extended or no.
that's true.
Sickos.
That's true.
Sickos. But going around the NFL here, starting off, we're kind of going to do a lightning round here.
Yeah, it's going to be a
Um,
speed round.
will Christian McCaffrey at 29 and the 49ers have a bounce back season? Now they're down Debo Samuel. Brendan Ayuk's not looking to be back until like week 6.
Wow.
They've lost a lot of key contributors on that defense. Where are we at? What do you think, Pop?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Christian is just can he stay healthy, right? He really struggled at that. He seems to be fully healthy at this point, but can they make him a workhorse? There was a split load between him and Debo, and now Debo's not there. So who's going to fill in that gap? He was getting hurt as it was before. I don't know. Like, the 49ers are a popular pick because it's the 49ers. And they've got great coaching and all of that, but I wouldn't put money on it that it's going to be a bounce back season just based on the data and the facts. I mean, who's going to catch balls? Can McCaffrey stay healthy? Is the defense, did they get hurt by some of the departures? I still think they got a great coaching staff and they're going to get the best out of that group. But I'm not so sure that I would say it's going to be a bounce back year.
I don't see it. I mean,
Yeah.
McCaffrey's gonna have to be healthy for 17 games, and he's gonna have to come back at MVP pace. And I just don't think. I mean, this is a guy that was traveling to Germany to visit specialists regarding his Achilles a year ago, a running back who relies on quick twitch, explosive movements at 29 years old, who's never been able to stay healthy throughout the course of his career. Maybe they jump out to a 4-0 start. They have a really easy schedule. Maybe they jump out to a 4-0, 5-0 start before the hamstring starts to act up. Maybe they jump out to a 7-2 start before he rolls an ankle. But you're gonna have to have MVP Christian McCaffrey. He's gonna have to come out and do what Saquon did last year in order for the 49ers to
I don't
be
think
in
he's got
serious
that.
Super Bowl
He doesn't
contention.
got that in him anymore.
And I am gonna go with the math, but this time last year, a lot of guys were saying the same thing about Derrick Henry, and he went for a 1,900-yard season. So I
Different players.
more faith in Henry than
Henry's a
McCaffrey for
tank.
sure.
Henry's a
Um,
tank. And you
but
put the more you put Brock Purdy in a position to have to carry the team versus being a distributor, that's not a great situation either. They still got George
yep,
Kittle. He's a great player. So,
yeah,
but
and I mean, well, Kittle's a great player, but Kittle's had his issues with staying on the field too.
yeah.
And if you're going to be increasing his volume, he's rounding the wrong
And if
side of
Ayuk's
30.
not back till week 6, which I didn't realize, I
Yeah,
mean, how great if can you rely on him? He's going to have to ramp up.
yeah,
Yeah, it
and you're
doesn't
relying
look
on
great.
Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall and guys like that who've been good, but I don't know. I don't see it with the 49ers. I think that window's closed. Will Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and the Pittsburgh Steelers actually excel this year? That's
Is
how
that
I
a
feel
no?
about that.
Is that a no?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. So we got it at what? It's a 8.5, 8.5 wins of Vegas. I'm gonna take the over.
Well,
I'm
it's
gonna say
Tomlin. They're
I'm
not
gonna
going to
take the over
lose.
because I just feel like it's a totally different scenario, right? Like he doesn't have the cape on like he did in New York. He's got DK Metcalf. He's got a great defense. Um, I feel
He's got
like
a
this is
bad offensive line. Bad.
that ain't great.
Yeah.
That ain't great. But
And
I
he's
think it's gonna, you know, I think they're gonna make a little noise. I think it's gonna be better than maybe people think. They held out for him. They let him take his time making decisions. Perry he took less money than he could have gotten. I don't know what that really means or why you would do that, but maybe it's a demonstration of being a team player. I think
he
it's going
did
to be
that.
a little better than what people think. I'm not going to go
Uh,
off and say they're going to contend for championship or anything. The AFC is way too top heavy for that, but I think they're going to look good. They're going to be an improved team from last year with Aaron
no,
Rodgers.
no interest. I don't even know if Aaron Rodgers can start 17 games. Health is going to be a concern with Rodgers behind that offensive line. He took less money in New York as well. That was a headline out there to be a team player. He's just not. He's this is just much of the same for me. I got no interest in this team. DK Metcalf's also a guy that's just been good, not great his entire career. A physical specimen that frankly has underproduced his God-given talents. Um, I wouldn't tell him that if I saw him in person. I'll tell you that much. But I just don't. This whole situation just screams like 9-year-old puts together a Madden franchise team, and then is surprised when it's not that good. I don't know. I'm not excited about this at
Be
all.
fun to watch, I think.
From a drama perspective, from a like Real Housewives of the NFL. This is the funnest team in the NFL to keep up with. But from a can this team win football games? I think Mike Tomlin will squeak them out to 9 wins. But I don't have much faith past that. Anyways, what can we expect? Speaking of situations I don't have much faith in, what can we expect from the Dallas Cowboys under new coach Brian Schottenheimer? Quoted by Jerry Jones, the perennial assistant that he's now made head coach. Um,
Jara.
oh, Jesus, Michael Parsons holdout continues. That's a guy who I think might actually not play football this year. Dak Prescott, has got CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens. Javante Williams is a projected starting running back, but you've got guys like Jadon Blue that they filled in. Vegas over under is 7.5 wins. I think that tells you everything you need to know right there.
I mean, I think Prescott, Lamb, Pickens, that offensive line, which is still very good, you know, it's something to get excited about. I don't know what they're doing to running back. Like, they just seem to have deprioritized that whole position. And that could be an area with their O line that could really help them. Devontae is just a guy that's kind of unproven through the course of his career, has had flashes, but we haven't seen him do it steadily. And he's had opportunities to be kind of compete, at least compete for RB1 in the past. Um, and the Mika thing, is it Micah? I think it's Micah.
Micah,
Um,
Minka. No.
um,
Minka Fitzpatrick, Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons. Um, that's another one where this guy, I feel like, has been so loyal to that franchise beyond what makes sense, honestly. And if, similar to Terry, where people might say, well, why would you mess with Terry? Although I think that situation has been handled with class. Nobody's come out complained about anything to do with Terry and not talking about anything, giving him nothing but love publicly, including Adam Peters. Jerry Jones taking shots at him. The guy showed up for camp, didn't hold out from beginning, was trying to be a team player from the beginning. I just don't understand the dialogue there. Like it just doesn't make any sense. It even if they end up signing him, it's just a weird situation. look, we want to always make it seem like the Cowboys are falling apart. But even if you try to take the most objective view of this thing, this could get ugly. This
Yeah.
could get ugly quick. I mean, Vegas has
Um,
them at 7.5 wins. Isn't very good. Um, this could get this could be a 5-6 win year. Um, it's just hard to imagine. It's just hard to look at that team and see it being different. And they've got the Commanders and the Eagles in their division, and I think what's going to be a competitive Giants team.
yeah. Especially Jackson Dart looks pretty good in the preseason. So if they can get that quarterback situation worked out and they can protect the quarterback, that Giants team is not to be overlooked.
Yeah,
I think they'll be the third best in the division this year. And I think, if the Giants were in the NFC South, maybe they could be a little more frisky, but they're just in too good of a division right now. But the Cowboys, man, Dak played 8 games last year, and Dak has only played a full season once in the last 5 years.
yeah,
And out of those 8 games, he had the worst completion percentage he's had in the last 5 years. He had the lowest average yards per attempt in the last 5 years. He was sacked 21 times in 8 games. That's not good. That's averaging a little below 3 sacks per game. He had 11 touchdowns and 8 interceptions over 8 games. That's also not very good. His passer rating was the lowest it's been in the last, I mean, literally, I'm looking at it now. What's one, two, three, four, five? He had the lowest passer rating since his second year in the NFL. And he's entering year 10. I don't know that Dak Prescott is this sure thing stud quarterback. I mean, I trust him. I think he's a good quarterback. If I was a Cowboys fan, I'd be saying Dak's just got to get healthy, but that ain't a given. I mean, I don't know, man.
yeah. And Pickens is a guy. It's pretty volatile, right? Like if things start going
Sure.
south and he's not getting the ball. And I think CeeDee Lamb's been a pro, but he's wide receiver one. He's going to want his touches too, and have success. So it
Yeah.
could go tilt pretty quick. It's going to be an interesting watch for sure.
Yeah. Dak's been a guy that's needed a good run game and a great defense to have a competitive team. And I don't know that defense looks horrible. And the run game,
I love
he
it.
got a bunch of dudes.
I love it.
And some of them may pan out, but mostly just a bunch of dudes. So, anyways, I mean, I say we wrap this thing up,
That's a
Pop.
hell of a
That's
pod
our
for
that's our
the
pod.
comeback pod.
I mean, you knew the boys had to get back at it. Hopefully, you'll see once the season starts, these pods will be much shorter, but you'll be getting 2 a week. So you'll be getting about the same amount of time from the guys, but we'll be definitely trimming down. Um, man, I say we wrap this thing up, Bob. What do you
Let's
say?
wrap it.
All right,
Yeah.
without further ado, I'm Adam.
This is Pop.
Thank you guys for another great week, and hail to the Commanders.
Hail.